Welcome back to Morning Express this wonderful 19th of January 2015. It happens to be a Monday. And on Mondays, well, we've had these Monday blues, but here on Morning Express, we say goodbye Monday blues and hello the rest of the week because we inspire you. And this is what we call the lifestyle section. And this morning, I am joined by Pastor Terry Gobanga. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you.
It is wonderful to have you on the show this morning. Now, I know there are many people who sit down and look at a pastor and think, well, a pastor is something I'd like to do. They have a lot of influence. They have a lot of power, depending on where, they operate. But it's not always that easy to get where you are right now as pastor.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Blessed to be here. And it's just been a roller coaster of things in my life, from the time I was a little girl. So much has just been happening, and yeah, it is what it is. That's what I say. But I thank God where He has placed me right now.
Did you ever imagine you'd be a pastor when you were little?
No.
Is it a desire you had?
No, it's not a desire I had. I've always been a leader back in my school days, at whatever level I got in and whatever college or whatever it is. So I've always been in leadership of some sort, but I never thought pastoral. So even when I was going to Bible school, I went there telling everyone that I'm just going to make sure that I get to learn more about the Bible because I know the deep truths that it has, so that in my leadership, I'm able to lead from a point of good morals, good knowledge. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a pastor is normally seen as one who gives counsel, who directs, who gives. Has it always been a position you've had where you said you knew you're a leader?
Yes.
Have you always been helping people out?
Absolutely. I've always been the one to sort of show where we're going, and I give counsel on so many things. And in fact, it's interesting that anytime someone would lose a loved one, for some reason, I had so much strength to be there with this person, encourage them, walk them through sickness. I was just that person.
That person.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that catches my attention about you as a person and looking at where you are today is the story of your wedding day. Tell me, what happened?
A few years back on my wedding day, I call it my first wedding. On my wedding day, I was abducted. I was escorting a friend in the morning, and I was abducted. And
this is the actual wedding.
This is the actual wedding day. Okay. And before I knew it, I was in the car, the back seat of the car. The guy who grabbed me from outside was sitting on the bonnet as I was passing. So I found myself in the car together with him and two others. So we're a total of 4. And before I knew it, I was, being beaten up, and pieces of cloth were stashed in my mouth. And I was told that I would have to cooperate or I would die. And a knife was pulled out. I was being threatened by this person. And the guy on the co-driver's seat was kneeling on his seat, helping this other guy to pin me down. And they were telling me, you need to remove I was wearing a pair of jeans, so you need to remove your trousers. I tell you what, I was so confused because I was this happy girl. It's finally the D-Day that, you really look forward to. Exactly. And now I wasn't quite getting it. At first, I thought my fiancé was surprising me. Then I got to realize, hey, wait, no, But then the blows got really intense. That's when I thought, wait, this is not a surprise. There's something totally wrong. I remember at one point pushing the pieces of clothes from my mouth, and I said, it's my wedding day. And one of them laughed out loud and said, even us, we as well. And I was in tears, but long story short, they managed. The one at the back seat with me managed he's the first man who raped me. When he was done.
Was this happening in the car?
Oh, right in the car, and the car was moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roughly what time was this?
That was about 5:45 in the morning.
Okay, so you had gone to escort your friend.
Yeah.
Where was your friend going?
To town. Okay. Apparently, I had part of the clothes of my fiancé, the cravat and things like that. So we had agreed when I get to church, I will just give them to him. But when my friends spent the night at home and thought, there's no point of us waiting for that time. So she would just go meet up with him and give him this thing that he really needed for the day. So that's why. And I was with my best maid, but my best maid was very busy preparing my big breakfast for the bride. So I sneaked out before my parents woke up. to just escort her, because she was not very conversant with where we were staying at the time, which was Buruburu, my parents' house. So I escorted her to the bus stop, which is not far from home. Then, so coming back, that's when I met this car parked.
Okay, so here you are in the car.
Yes.
They've given you blows.
Yes, they've removed my jean. I'm bleeding by this time. So then the first man rapes me. Then the co-driver comes behind. The car never got to stop. He as well rapes me. And then the driver comes. This is the only time the car stops. He comes behind. He removes the pieces of cloth from my mouth, removes his manhood, sticks it in my mouth. And by this time, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm good as dead, because I'm feeling really bad, you know. So I beat him in the hope that... Yes, because I knew I'm going to die. So I will leave you less of something, and maybe the cops will be able to catch up with you or something like that. So I beat him, and I've never had a man scream that much. I don't know amongst the three of them who stabbed me, but whoever it was, someone stabbed me.
With a knife?
Yes, with a knife on my stomach. And the car door was open, and I was thrown outside the moving vehicle. I remember hitting the tarmac, rolling a bit, and I passed out.
Wow.
Yes.
And all this, when you were in the car, and you know it's your wedding day, and here they are doing what they're doing, what was going through your mind?
I was confused. I think my mind just refused to register, because flash, you know, it was flashing on my wedding day. Are these people doing this? Where are you, God? You know, there was a lot of mixed feelings, emotions. So it wasn't really stuck at one place. I was just roller coaster of things going through my mind.
Okay. Yeah. So you're thrown out of the car.
Yeah.
You pass out. What happened next?
So a child sees me being thrown out of the car. Thank God for their curiosity. So rushes, tells the grandmother something has happened. Now, I was abducted in Buruburu. I was found at Rongai Kiserian. Taken at about 5:45 in the morning. I was dumped at 12:30. So you see all those things that were happening in the car, and we were driving for quite a long time. So the grandmother comes out and starts screaming, and so the people around the neighborhood, the villagers came out, and they tried to get a pulse on me. They could not find. So people assumed that I'm dead. They tried to flag down cars to stop, you know, to rush me, either whatever place that would take me. But no one is willing to stop, seeing how I look like, half naked, covered with a lot of blood. So they called the cops. Finally, the policemen showed after quite a while, and they looked for my pearls. They could not get any either. So what they thought, they wrapped me in the dead man's blanket, put me in the pickup, and now we're on our way to City Mortuary. On our way, I cough. I think the blanket was choking me. And I hear one of them saying, "You mean she's alive?"
You heard that?
I heard that. So then that's when they changed route to, instead of City Mortuary, now we're going to Kenyatta National Hospital. So we get to Kenyatta, and all I remember was, I mean, every time I heard any male voice, I think I was told I was very violent. Because then these pictures were running through my mind, and now they're back, and what do they want to do? All the same, the matron looks at me and believes that I look like a bride. All the things that I was murmuring, because I wasn't dressed. And I believe that that's just God right there. So she decides to go to some churches asking if they're missing a bride. This is now about 1:30, going to 2 actually. So they get to All Saints Cathedral, where our wedding was going to take place. And by this time, they've pulled down my deco, because our wedding was going to be at 10. So my fiancé is closed up in a vestry somewhere. No one has any answers. Some people thought I developed cold feet. You know, I changed my mind, but it wasn't the case. So they asked Reverend Tom Otieno, who was going to join us, and Reverend Obat, "Are you missing a bride?" And they say, "Yeah, we're missing a bride. There was a wedding at 10, and the bride hasn't shown. And she's not home either." So he joins them to the hospital, and for sure, it's Terry. So they get my fiancé and they get my family. So they all come. Because back at home, you can imagine the celebration. Right. And it's died down. And so people have been sent in different directions. Could you look for her? So they all get to meet at Kenyatta Hospital. By this time, the media has been informed. And so it's a scoop story. And I'm feeling so bad about it, because you're feeling such shame going through rape. You don't want it to be in the media. Right. That's the last place you want your story to be. And I'm feeling so overwhelmed with what's going on. So a bit of push and shove, my family and the hospital. So they take me out from that hospital. They take me to Nairobi Hospital, and I'm here for 2 weeks. During this time, they clean me up. They give me medication so I don't conceive. They put me on ARVs just in case they're contracting the HIV and AIDS virus. They stitch me up, and then the doctor tells me I will not be able to get any children because my womb was ruptured.
With a stab?
With a stab. It went so deep. So my womb was ruptured. And I just wonder, it doesn't stop. It doesn't just stop. Where are you, God? My fiancé was very, very supportive. He was there all through. In fact, on the wedding day, he came with a gown, just, I want to marry you regardless.
To the hospital?
Absolutely. Wow. I want to marry you. I want to make sure that you get better. And that I wouldn't have said yes or no. I wasn't in any state of mind to know what was right, what was wrong. I was really down down there.
Okay, so the doctors come and they tell you that you cannot conceive.
Yes.
How do you react to that?
Oh, I cry, and I cry, and as if that's not enough. As if it's not enough being raped. Not one person, 2, 3. I'm not saying one is better. Rape is rape at whatever level. It's just bad. But I was at that place in my mind asking God, do you care? Do you really care? What did I do to you? Did I do something that I do not know of? Are you trying to punish me? And by this time, I was still a pastor. But I couldn't understand. And I was thinking, I've been there for people. The way you point back and think, oh, I've been righteous, I've been doing all this. How could you? It's like you're repaying me with this. Mm-hmm. But I just did not understand the plans that God had for me at that time. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow. And okay, what happened now? You're in hospital?
Yeah. So I stay in hospital for about 2 weeks. So I'm discharged, and I have to keep going for treatment and counseling. And that went on for quite a while. My fiancé was by my side and kept telling me, let's get married. I told him, could he wait? I was ignorant on the education on HIV and AIDS. I didn't know much about it. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't so sure I want to get married if I'm positive. So I waited for 3 months. I went for checkup. They told me I'm not. I'm negative. But then they told me you don't have a clean bill of health until 6 months. So again, 6 months, I'm negative. And I would say, yes, thank you, God. I'm good. Now I can praise you. So that phase passes, and I tell my fiancé, now I'm ready to get married by the grace of God. So we start organizing for what I call my second wedding. And 2 committees, people are not showing up, but thankfully a lady called me by the name Vipogola, and she tells me, I've read your story and I would want us to meet. We met. And after 2 weeks again, she asked me for a meeting, and she told me, you know what, my friends and I, a team of 3 ladies, they call themselves Sherehe Africa. My friends and I, we want to give you a free wedding. And I thought to myself, what do you mean a free wedding? What's free here? And she told me absolutely everything. From a new outfit, remember I'd not worn my first gown, but then they want to give me another gown, everything, air ticket, honeymoon. And I thought, wow, okay,
these are strangers, you don't know them?
Strangers, totally. I mean, I'd never known about them before that day. So we started the preparations, but my fiancé was very scared. He said, I cannot take any chances. Let's get you a bodyguard. So they found me a bodyguard that I approved of when we went to the CID headquarters to pick him out. And this guy was walking with me all through. I don't know how our Heshimiwas operate. It's very taxing. It's
to have somebody shadow you everywhere you go. Everywhere
you go, you get back home and he's there to make sure that, before you get in the house, it's safe and all. That was
okay.
Very
so here you are. You've been given an offer for a free wedding. Did you accept it?
I did.
Finally.
I did. It was very exciting. We went round, picked out everything, and then the wedding day came. This time I changed venue to Sitam Karen. Mm-hmm. That's where we did our second wedding, or what I call my second wedding. And then after that, we went to School of Law. Then we went for our honeymoon. And it was so good, so much fun, of course not without challenges given what I'd gone through. Right. And then we came back. This is now 29 days later in our marriage, and on a Saturday we started out well. I told him I needed to go to the salon, make my hair. We were fasting and praying. He took me to the salon. When we were at the salon, he told me, I want to go buy a jiko. I said, wait a minute, why? because I have chest condition. I get congested very easily. And I told him, you know, that can't work with me. He said, you know, we were staying in Kabete by this time. He said, Kabete is such a cold place. I just want to make sure that my bride is warm. That's my job as your husband. Thought about it, and at the end of the day, when he told me, you don't stop me on how to love you, I thought, okay, you know, you have your way, yes. Yeah. So he went to town.
Why were you opposed to the Jiko?
Because my chest, I get congested very easily.
All right.
So he went to town, bought the Jiko, came back, picked me up, we went home, we went bought dinner, what we were going to cook. When we got to Kabete, I was very excited because it was late. So I knew we're not going to get any charcoal vendors, but a determined man he was. So he went into one of the kiosks, begged for charcoal. He was sold for at a much higher price. He bought it. We went home. I left him outside lighting the Jiko, went to the kitchen preparing my food. Then he went to the bedroom, took the Jiko to the bedroom as he had said to make the room warm. Then he came to the kitchen where I was cooking. He switched off the gas, carried me on the kitchen counter and told me we need to talk. I was very confused. You know, you don't have to switch off, and it looks like a serious talk. And he tells me, you know, in case I would die, I would want you to go on with life. You're coming from a close-knit family. I stopped him right there. I told him, wait a minute, why are we talking about death?
How long is this after the wedding?
29 days.
29 days.
Yes.
Okay.
So I tell him, we cannot talk about this now. We've just gotten married. We've just come back from a honeymoon. We are praying and fasting the whole day. It's an exciting time. You don't talk about death. We'll talk about that when we are all prayed up. And he was not happy that I stopped him. He went to the kitchen balcony, stood there for a bit, and came back in the house. And the atmosphere had really changed. So we embraced. I remember we were in tears. We didn't understand what was happening. And we prayed. We said, you know what, whatever that was, we cancel it. Now, we had our food, then we went to bed. He removed the Jiko, and for sure the room was warm. The only thing was I wasn't warm. The room was warm, but I was still cold. Kabete is a very cold place. So he wasn't happy about that. So he asked me to wear a jumper, get under the covers. He's going to lock up the rest of the house. So he did that. He came back and he told me, I'm feeling dizzy. We laughed about it. It wasn't anything serious. He came to bed. We could not sleep. We were so cold. We were shivering. And I remember saying, you know, how about we get another duvet? We seem to be too cold. Probably the Jiko thing didn't work. And he told me, I can't stand. I told him, you can't stand? Or you don't want to stand? He said, I can't stand. I don't have the strength. I said, okay, let me get it. I could not stand. None of us was in any pain. So we started screaming for help, shouting and shouting for our neighbor. We were staying in apartments. And no one came. The watchman didn't show. We started praying. Nothing was changing. I remember telling him, we need to say, we shall live and not die in Jesus' name. I could say those words. I kept repeating those words. He could not say those words. He kept saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I passed out. When I came to, I would call him. At times he would respond. At times he would not respond. But there's this one time when I came to, I just felt in my spirit there's something totally wrong. So I started trying to push myself out of the bed. I pushed myself. Finally, I fell down. When I fell down, I threw up. Interesting enough, when I threw up, I got some strength to crawl. So I crawled to where the lights were, the switch. I switched it on. I went to his side. He was asleep. I picked the phone. I called my neighbor, who also happened to be my best mate, and I told her something is wrong. And she said, yeah, we know. We've heard you screaming. We know they're thugs, and we've called the cops. I said, they're no thugs. Harry is not even responding. Something is just off. And so she said, all right. So they came down. The entire apartment came down like a flood, and they started shouting. And they managed to break part of the door, but they could not get to the last latch on the metallic door. So I had to get from the bedroom to the living room, crawling and passing out. So it took me about 30 minutes to get to the door. Then I opened it and people came in. All I remember, people were shouting and someone saying Nijiko. It was just a lot of confusion. We were put in the car, rushed to the nearest hospital at the time, which was Kikuyu Hospital. When I came to, there were these tubes attached to me. I was warm. I was feeling very warm and nice. So I remember asking, where's my husband? And they said, he's in the next room. We're working on him. I said, all right. So I went back to sleep. I woke up. I said, where's my husband? We are still working on him. Okay. Then the nurse had a conversation, and I heard it from my room, which I thought was very disturbing. I said, can I see the doctor? And he said, why? I said, I need to see the doctor now.
What was the conversation?
I was talking about mortuary, talking about death. I don't know why. I just thought, no.
And you just overheard this?
Yes, I overheard this. And so the doctor came, and I was so frantic. I'm telling him, talk to me. Where's my husband? You see, we are still trying. I said, what are you trying? Just tell me, what are you trying? And I looked at him straight in his eyes, and I told him, listen, I'm a pastor. I have gone through quite a bit in my life. And what I want from you is one word: alive or dead. So then he looks at me and he tells me, well, we're sorry, but he did not make it.
Wow.
What? And I am speechless. The first thing I do, I laugh. I tell him, okay, are you born again? He says, yes. I said, good for you. Stand up, let's go and pray for him. So I'm pulling these tubes because in my mind, I'm thinking, I know God, and this is not how you can operate. You don't test your children this much and this soon. Give it a break, so I thought. So as I'm standing, the doctor does something, they call it medically, because they say my body is shutting down, so they need to do something drastic to jack me up. And there's 3 slaps. So he slaps me really hard thrice, 1, 2, 3. And for sure, the message sinks in. And the pain that I cannot even explain it. Pain, so much pain to your nails that, pain of losing a part of you.
This is the part now where it sinks in that he's no more.
Absolutely. That he's just no more. It's gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm crying and I check myself out of hospital because I think you guys are tripping. You have made sure that he's dead. You are not allowing me to go pray because then there will be a miracle. So I tell the doctor I cannot stay. So he's like, this is against the... I said, it's me. If I die, the better. I will go to be with him. There's no point of leaving. So I signed the papers and my brother came and I was able to go home. Now I went back home to Buruburu. And I'm in tears. I'm in shock. I'm still waiting for someone to tell me that's a dream.
Have you seen his body?
They refused for me to see the body. Okay. So I never referred to him as body. I never did that, not even once. So I stayed there, and then at one point, my in-laws, not immediate, came, and I heard a story that, I'm being accused that I killed my husband. So, wow. Okay. So I've heard it before in the African, community. It's very hard for a husband to just die, even if it was cancer. There's something the woman did, yes. So I was not spared. I cried. I told God, really, I've killed him. So anyway, we did the post-mortem, which showed that his system was clogged up with carbon monoxide from the GICO. And his trachea, there was food stuck on the trachea. So he choked. It was a painful death for him. And the doctor said my saving grace came when I fell down and threw up. Apparently I managed to release carbon monoxide, some of it in my system. That's what saved me.
Okay, so here you are in Buruburu, and your husband is dead.
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
So sad. I moved out. First I went to one of my friend's place in Kileleshwa and just stayed there drunk in sorrow. I would wake up in the morning and just cry, and my food was ice cream for about a month. I did not want to do anything. Curtains drawn. I was sad. I was very, very, very sad. But I remember one time looking at the birds and feeling that, God, you said you can take care of the birds. Why are you not taking care of me? And I felt that, like, go back to church, sing, give me praise. And I could not understand. And one thing I realized, my turnaround was, God doesn't... Things in life, you will not be explained for everything.
You'll not understand everything.
You will not understand. You stop seeking for an explanation. There are those things which you're asked to just move blindly, trust in God that all things will work out together for good. So I went back to church and I'm serving, and just as you're asking me as a pastor and as a leader, in all my life, I've been used to counseling people. But now I was on this other side, and I felt like I've let my church down. But then I had a senior pastor, Reverend Peterson Rukenya, an amazing pastor who walked with me during this time, because I got so many fake people around this time who were telling me different things.
How did you relate to people at that point, and how did you move on now to relate, with others?
Yeah, it was so hard. It was very, very hard because I felt like a letdown. And then the whisper, the rumors around mothers, fathers, people withdrew their children from me. They called me cursed because they couldn't understand why so many bad things are happening to this one. You know, yeah. So she must be cursed of some sort, you know. I actually sat down with my parents and I asked them, did I do something when I was a little girl? Maybe did I kill a child and you didn't tell me? Is this the point where you tell me the truth so that this thing stop happening? But I got my strength in God. I mean, I just picked myself up from there, and I lived a day at a time. Because anytime I would try to focus on next week and the next day, it would be so overwhelming. So I picked it a day at a time.
Okay, what was your turning point at this point?
My turning point was when I listened to, I've always loved worship. So I sat down, and when God spoke about taking care of me and just moving blindly, that was my turning point. Because then I went back, I was crying in my heart, and I was telling God, I cannot serve the devil. So that means I'm stuck with you. So fine, so I'm here. Beat me, do whatever you want to do, but I'm here.
I'm not going anywhere.
And when I say those words, wait a minute, I am actually here. Regardless of how much I cry, how much I whine, I am here. And so I realized, how is it that many people are able to believe it is morning when it is 12:01, when it is still dark? How are we able to believe that, and yet you're not able to believe that there's so much, you can do all things. There's so much you can do within yourself. I thought, wait a minute, so that's it. So I turned around and I just held on to what the Word of God says, because I love it. And I started now relating to people. I would get out there. I would just cry when I needed to cry. I didn't have to hide it.
Because of time, I'll just move on to something else, because
Yes.
I really am interested in knowing, how did you meet? You're currently married.
Yes,
How
I
did you
am.
meet your husband, and what was his take on all this?
Yes, we had met before, but during this time when I lost my late husband, he would call me like every other person would. The only difference was when he would call, we would be talking for over 3 hours, and all I'm talking about my late husband. And that stood out for me with him, because he was interested in me as a person to get healed, to get better, not in me as a person to marry me, because that's what other men would show me. So long story short, because of time, when he asked for my hand in marriage, and I said, I'm not able to give birth to children, and I don't want you to stress me, being an African man. And so he tells me, children are a gift from God, and if we have them, amen. If we don't get them, that means he will just have more time to love me. I thought, wow. So he went home to tell the parents. Exciting, not so exciting, it was received both ways. But he told them, I'm just here to tell you that I'm going to marry her. So the day came for what I call my third wedding. No free wedding this time, but we had a beautiful wedding. And I was scared a bit given what happened, so I would look at him every day.
Opposed in any way to the family, especially knowing your history?
Part of it.
Okay.
Part of it, yes. Part of it was not so happy. My father-in-law did not show up for our wedding, but today we are best friends.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow,
yes. God just
fantastic.
restored us,
Okay, and now you got how long have you been married?
I got 8 years.
8 years.
8 years now.
Okay.
Yes, but our first year of marriage, I got sick, went to hospital. I was told I've conceived. Yes.
Despite what the doctors have told you.
Absolutely. So we got a baby. She's 6 years old. She'll be turning 6 next month. Her name is Tehil. And then we got another.
What was your reaction when you're told you've conceived?
What? I was having a lot of disbelief, speechless. I could not understand what is happening. But my first reaction, what I did, I picked my phone and I SMS'd everyone on my phone book, and I told them I'm pregnant. Some of them were asking me, who are you? And my reply was, I am pregnant. I was very excited,
I can imagine.
I'm pregnant,
Imagine, yeah.
It didn't come easy, given what had happened.
Right.
Yeah, so then again, we got another child. So we have 2 children, another baby girl. Her name is Toda. So we're blessed with 2 girls.
How do they know what happened? Are they old enough to understand?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Do you think that's something you'd want to share with them?
Definitely. Definitely.
Why?
Because it's a part of my life. In fact, when I was getting married to my husband today, I told him, I thought I would destroy my pictures, you know, from my other marriage, and I did not know how to handle that at that time. And I remember him telling me, listen, you cannot destroy these things. It's part of your life. So when we're telling our children, you know, about our past, this is something that they would need to see, so that you cannot do away with them. So
wow.
they're there, and yes, there's coming a time when I will sit them down and tell them, this is what happened to your mama. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, we also have Sophia, who's going to give us a bit of feedback. Sophia, what do we have coming through?
There's really a lot of, you know, people who are shocked, who are like, what strength that is, who are talking about what a terrible experience. And it's just amazing, the kind of inspiration that a lot of the messages actually about to inspire me. I'd not imagine going through such an experience and living through it. I mean, I was just seated here also just amazed hearing that. But also what's really cool, and I think everybody at home should know, is that she came with her husband. He's in studio.
Yes, he's in the studio sitting somewhere.
Yeah, he brought her for the interview. I mean, we've seen his pictures, and some of those pictures we're seeing on screen. So really great. And it's amazing that you went through that. I don't know where that strength came from. I'm still lost for words, I think you can tell. But thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. Yeah?
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely great. And maybe just as to summarize, somebody sitting out there maybe who's gone through a lot, probably less than what you've gone through, but they feel like God is against them. What's your message to them?
One thing I've always said, crawl if you have to, but just know destiny awaits. And you know what? It will not wait for you. I mean, the 24 hours in a day just remains 24. So if you're going to cry for 5 years, those are wasted years. So pick yourself. I encourage people, don't deal, just dwell. I mean, don't dwell on things, deal with them as they come. So do not put a full stop where God hasn't put one. Go right back, put a comma, allow the Lord to continue writing your book. You might be in chapter 1, it might not be so good. Chapter 2, chapter 3, not so good. Who knows about chapter 7? So you keep living a day at a time, keep pushing it, and wait and see what God has in store for you. It's His life, and there's destiny awaiting to be accomplished. There's purpose are waiting to be accomplished by you, not anyone else, by you. So you sleep 5 years, you've wasted 5 years. You'll wake up, and you know what? Do you know you start from where you left it at?
Whether it's 2 years or 5 years.
That's the thing.
Wow.
You leave your curtains drawn, you will wake up from there 3 months later, you will pick it up from there. No one will come and pick after you. So you have to just get the inner strength, pick yourself up, and keep moving. There are better days ahead, I can assure you.
Well,
that.
Sophia.